Hello everyone and welcome to our new video. We have created this series to discuss about the CI/CD DevOps pipeline by using the Gitlab. So nowadays Gitlab has been prominent and it has taken a major leap into the CI/CD pipeline. So within the series in which we are going to have the multiple part, we are going to discuss about how the Gitlab can be used for creating the CI/CD. This entire series will be hands-on on Gitlab, and we will be using the Gitlab eventually from a practical perspective, starting from the scratch. So this is what our series is going to be. But before we start, we are going to cover about few of the basics of the pipeline, basically how these pipelines can be referred to the assembly lines, and basically what all advantages are there. That way you would be able to relate the DevOps pipelines with the assembly lines, and this will help you understand it from a real world example on how critical these pipelines can be and why it is necessary to have a optimum pipeline and why all the organizations are adopting it. So that being the agenda, let's start with the DevOps pipeline and go through understanding how they relate to the assembly lines. All right, let's see from a DevOps pipeline and the assembly line point of view. So we are going to consider an analogy between the assembly lines of the car, because the car industry has been revolutionized and they have evolved and perfected the high efficient approach for manufacturing the cars. They have went from a custom car build, which was initially built manually, which was very slow process because a lot of components have to be arranged, to the automated part production with manual assembly. Now, this is where the it's very similar to continuous delivery, where you have automated different steps, but the overall combination still remains the manual. And then it evolved to what is known as the fully automated assembly lines, which was completely automated, which didn't require any manual intervention. Because it didn't require any manual intervention, the process of the lean manufacturing becomes highly scalable, due to which it saw the car industry saw a very high manufacturing rate, and a lot of cars were produced at a very large scale, due to which it revolutionized the way that the people travel nowadays, and thus creating the huge value for the companies which have implemented the fully automated assembly lines for manufacturing the car. Now, in 1912, Henry Ford from the USA, he was the first one to introduce the process of manufacturing the automobiles by making it a repeatable process that would improve the quality, eliminate the waste, reduce the manufacturing time, and reduce the total cost to build an automobile. And this led to a significant move ahead in the time. And by 1913, Ford introduced the first moving assembly line for the mass production of the entire automobile. So how it looks like? It looks like this. If you look at the initial, when this was a manual work that was done using the hands only, right? So it took a lot of time, and a lot of similarly, it took a lot of time initially when we used to configure the infrastructure without the DevOps practices. Then it was partly automated by using some scripts and different automation tools, which were separately configured and automated, but then overall still the deployments were manual. And lastly, it comes to the assembly lines, which can be related to the fully automated CI/CD pipelines that we saw today. If you see this diagram, there are multiple machines, just like we have multiple tools working for the automation, and this can be closely related. And if you look at the final product, which is the car, it is now that the car is fully automated, and once you start producing it, overall the chassis is set up, everything is automated, and this results in a huge production and the scale. So what are the benefits of this lean software development model, or the lean manufacturing, as it has been lean software has been adopted from the lean manufacturing. So if you look at the lean manufacturing, I have put the point side by side so that it becomes easier for you to compare and understand it from by relating to the manufacturing industry. So if you look at the manufacturing industry, they basically said that this improves the quality. And if you relate it with the software, so basically it helps you to have the lesser bugs and outages in your environment, which is of a prime essence for any application. The more critical, the more transaction based it is, even the outages become more critical, that it should not be happening, otherwise you are going to lose your business. Then it eliminates the waste. So this results in the process improvement over the software development life cycle, and you are going to create the automation so that the repeated process can be reduced down, and overall process of building and developing and deploying the applications get automated. Then it reduces the time. So basically the faster time to market. This is the biggest advantage of introducing the CI/CD pipelines, or the DevOps pipelines, as we say, to reduce the time for overall development and iterating again and again the same processes, so that it becomes faster for the teams to deliver their final products, and reduce the total cost, lower the TCO. So these all are the comparable things that you are going to get the benefits out of by following the lean software development. Now, next is, if you look at the analogy, the DevOps pipeline are very much comparable to that of assembly lines, because DevOps pipelines are also focused on automating and connecting the different tasks which are performed by different teams. There can be teams which are including your server team, as we used to initially call it, who usually maintain the servers. Then comes the web team, which used to maintain the web server parts, database team, security team, uh, QA team, development team. So there are like all these members who are contributing towards the DevOps, and it needs to be automated from this perspective, that the continuous integration helps the developers and testers to automate their code and deployment using the release managers and so on. So to refer back to the manufacturing automobiles, the assembly lines consist of the stages that are automated, from building exterior parts. If you look from a car perspective, the exterior parts includes your chassis, body, and engine. Then to the assembly of the interior parts and painting, and finally to the inspection and the quality testing. So all of this becomes important. Each and every process in this manufacturing becomes important, because the part which is left, the quality will be degraded. Once the quality becomes degraded, it becomes harder to convince the people that the other products which has been processed by same manufacturing line does not have those defects, right? So this is why it becomes so important that overall quality testing is of prime essence, and the final products which are created is of a particular standard which the organization uses. Now, this is why you will find that some of the organizations into the car manufacturing have gained the market share, and they are basically able to gain the bigger market share because the quality of the production of these cars are very high. So that is why once it has passed the QA inspection, the car is delivered to the car dealership. Now, if you look at the assembly line, it basically looks like this. Chassis is the initial part where you use the chassis, body, engine, and then the next is the interior paint, inspection, transport to dealer. So somewhat it looks like this. Obviously, there are many more components in the car, and it's very diversified, which gets assembled and overall creates a car. But overall, you can think of the assembly line like this. If we look at a software development, the DevOps pipeline also consists of the different stages to move the code to the production. The pipeline is triggered by the developers when they commit the source code, right, to the version control system. And at that very moment of time, the next stage gets executed, because now they have committed their code. It will start automatically building the code, compiling the code, and testing the code. Now, once the software testing is being completed, now the process is going to move to the next stage, which is called the release automation. And in this stage, you will see that the runtime artifact, basically the code compilation, is happening, and it is saved to the repository. Now, the repository may contain an older version of the runtime artifact, which can be redeployed during a rollback process. So this is like a failback mechanism. If something goes wrong, you can easily fall back. This is going to reduce your downtime, and this is so efficiently managed. There are different deployment strategies like the blue-green deployment, rolling deployment, which are efficiently able to manage your deployments with a zero downtime. So even if something is going on in backend, the basically your users will not be able to recognize unless the full change has been deployed. Then the last stage of the pipeline is deploying the runtime to the artifact in the production environment. So if you look, this diagram basically shows the complete CI. The blue part forms the CI and the yellow part forms the CD. So you are going to initially plan. This is from the business team's point of view. Then your developers are going to code. As soon as they commit their code, this is going to result in the build, and which is afterwards the build has happened, it will run the test cases. Then a release notes will be published, the deployment will happen, and the operations like some steps which needs to be performed after the deployment will be performed. And after that, the monitoring as a feedback loop will be there, so that if anything is disturbed in your environment or something is not stable, it is going to send back the alerts. This plan keeps continuing again and again, and it's a closed loop. And because it's a closed loop, same thing keeps happening again and again, and this is going to optimize your overall process. So if you relate it to the DevOps pipeline, you will find that initially there is a source control system, which is most probably the Git, because it is very widely used. It has been developed by the Linux store worlds, and it's a distributed version control system. And from the source control, it goes to the next stage, which is the build and test automation. Within the build and test automation, you are going to compile your source code into a bytecode which can be understood by the machine. At the same time, you are going to run the test cases to determine that the code is going to work as per the expectation. There are no bugs to it. Finally, you are going to release the code with the help of the automation, and you are going to deploy it into your multiple environments like your staging and the production environment. So in this series of video, we are going to discuss about the GitLab, about the specific DevOps activities such as the source code management, so which is provided inherently by the GitLab, which is based on the Git solution itself. So you can go ahead, commit your code, take the backup, make it highly available. All these features are directly available into the GitLab, and this can be used for building and deployment of the pipeline automatically using the GitLab only. Now, GitLab can orchestrate for the different stages within the pipeline, and you are able to create the pipeline to utilize a combination of the plugins for the various tools to deliver the application into your production environments. They have pre-built plugins and the integrations through which you will be able to integrate your GitLab with the different like the cloud providers, the monitoring tools, the build tools, the testing tools. So it is like a seamless integration which GitLab provides, and it very nicely integrates with these tools so that you have a seamless pipeline and you are getting everything in one place. And because it has been divided into the stages, so you are always aware in which stage your code is currently in. If something goes wrong, you can just click on that stage. It will provide you a very detailed view, and you will get everything in one place so that you don't have to go into the multiple places. It has every security, the permissions. It is a full-fledged product which is provided by the GitLab, and that's why it is so revolutionary. Now, aside from the quality process improvement, this is going to save you time. It is going to reduce your cost reduction is there, because now you don't have to reach out to some engineer and get the work done manually. This, as soon as you commit, automatically the pipeline triggers automatically. You don't have to do anything extra, since the source code management and same product is also deploying your code. So it is built in seamlessly to trigger the pipeline. And this results in the cost reductions for the organization, because the failure of the code and the lesser human man hours will be involved. So overall, this also increases the reduces your cost production, and organizations with an established DevOps pipeline will always be benefiting from the sudden increase in the innovation cycles, which is ever changing now because of the digital economy and the large number of API dominance that we have, and the business paradigm is always evolving. So they are going to innovate, and they can innovate much more faster if they are having the proper CI/CD pipelines in place. Now, since the business capabilities can be delivered and consumption for consumption quickly in rapid intervals, allowing the organization to adapt in the evolving requirement. So they can experiment, they can consume, they can try. If they fail, that's not a big issue, because they can all easily fail back as well. Everything is virgin, so because the code also, the challenges becomes limited. And since you are deploying the smaller code, now the chances that your code will be working is even higher. You are also automating the test cases, so the friction becomes less, and the organizations are more able to experiment. They are able to, this is also going to raise your developers confidence because they have much more control now and they can deploy it anytime that they want. They have a full-fledged process for deployment as well as the rollback, which is built into the CI/CD pipeline. So we will be discussing about this overall project, and we will be starting from a very initial stage when we are going to create only very small pipelines, and will gradually evolving towards a very complex kind of a infrastructure using the GitLab. That's all for this video. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe to our channel. This will help us to make us reach these kind of videos directly to your YouTube inbox. You will be getting as soon as we publish these videos. And you always feel free to reach out to me by putting your doubts in the comment. I will be reaching out to you with the solutions. Thank you, everyone. That's all for this video. Signing off. Ankit Mittal. Bye.